Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tania. If you're new here, welcome. Today's video is going to be a video reacting to JCS's new video. I said video too many times, take a shot. Um, the new video JCS just dropped because it's been a little bit since they dropped and it's been a little bit since I dropped. So I just feel like if JCS is back, I have to be back. You know, it's only right. But I've really just been into true crime for so long. In high school, I wanted to be a forensic psychologist and do all the interviews with, criminals and stuff like that and really get into their mind. A lot of people, well, some people say like true crime isn't really ethical if you watch it, but listen, I'm coming from a nice, respectable place, okay? Not too much. But yeah, today we're going to be watching that video, so let's get into it. Okay, so the title of this one is Husband Tries to Act His Way Out of a Murder Charge. I'm locked in. Let's lock in.
According to CBS News, 50-year-old stay-at-home husband David Tronis desperately wanted to appear on reality television. In late April of 2018, he managed to secure himself a spot on the show Zombie House Flipping, where he would be featured renovating his newly bought house with his then-wife, 39-year-old financial consultant Shanti Cooper. The only problem was that Shanti wasn't nearly as interested in being on TV, so she refused to sign off on the program, which resulted in David beating and then strangling her to death in the early hours of the following morning.
Because she don't want to be on TV. This is what I'm talking about. Like, people just be doing things just to do it. Like, was it really that serious? Oh my God.
He called 911 roughly 12 hours later at 3:51 p.m.
Hello? Okay, listen to me. Can you tell me what your address is?
Police and paramedics soon arrived at the residence where they were met with a hysterical David performing CPR on Shanti in the living room. His immediate explanation was that he found her lying unconscious in a partially filled bathtub, bleeding from the nose and mouth. He was then taken to the police station as a witness, where they swapped out his blood-stained clothing for a custody suit. He was also given a water, a blanket, and a box of tissues, then taken to room 6, where he was reassured that someone would be right with him to answer his questions, which wasn't entirely true. He was left in there by himself for 4 hours and 9 minutes before he knocked on the door to use the bathroom.
I love when they do that. Like, let me give you some time to think about what you've done. Let's, let the guilt build up. Like, 12 hours later is crazy. Like, you should have called 12 hours ago. You shouldn't have done it. But, like, let him sit there and be in his thoughts and think about what he did. He might confess. I don't know. Clearly, he didn't confess right away, but still.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to bother you, Mac.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
It wouldn't take a genius to recognize that David's
No, because the cops just be like, hey, what's up?
behavior
Like what?
is already suspicious. Ask yourself if
Like,
you'd
I
be
ain't just
acting
been
like
sitting in
this
this room for
scenario
4
he's
hours.
claiming to be in. You find your significant other unresponsive in a bathtub. Then police leave you in a cold room for 4 hours without telling you anything. You might just ask someone, what the hell is going on? Or what the status of your wife is, and you probably wouldn't be all that polite and apologetic for just trying to use the bathroom. He returns from the bathroom and sits there for another 3 minutes. The detectives will now enter the room to commence the interrogation. The time is 9:08 p.m.
4 hours?
Hey,
I'm Detective Sprague. Can I get your first name?
first name is David.
David? Okay. We're gonna grab another chair.
Okay.
Did you need something?
I was just asking for a bottle of water.
Okay, we can grab you. Have you been to the restroom?
I just want.
You just want, okay, how about anything else? Anything else?
I'm starving. A cracker.
A cracker.
Just
A single saltine cracker. That's all he needs.
Did you eat lunch? I did not eat lunch.
Don't be fooled by the detective's disposition. They're already certain that David has committed either first or second-degree murder, but
It's
they
not
don't
funny.
quite have enough evidence to place him under arrest, which is why they need a confession. David, at this moment, is still free to walk out of that police station, so the detectives will keep the tone sympathetic and non-confrontational for the time being to keep him on that chair. They'll afford him the false belief they are buying into his act as the grieving husband, but as soon as he gives them his initial version of events, the pressure will rapidly accelerate, in a manner that David is in no way anticipating.
What would you like to eat? And I'll run down.
Just something simple. Just like saltines or peanut butter crackers. Or
Anything
something.
like that? Okay,
Yeah.
that's not a problem. We'll be right back.
Here's water, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I did that one.
Your mouth dry. You asking for peanut butter crackers and saltines. Okay.
Yes.
Desert mouth. Like, I don't get it.
Okay. Things. Okay, is that good? I'm looking at it since this morning. I'm sorry this is taking so long. You are David, I believe? Okay. I'm Detective Teresa Sprague, and this is Detective Barbara McClellan. First
Hey,
of all,
face
on behalf
off.
of the Atlanta Police Department, we want to say how sorry we are for your loss.
So this is the first, out of a total 11, of David's fake cries. Their intensity level will peak about halfway through this video, during some of the more embarrassing performances you're ever likely to witness on the internet. But from that moment on, you'll notice these acts steadily diminish, as the detective makes it more and more abundantly obvious that she knows he's lying.
David, and also for everything that you're going through. I know this is very traumatic for you. Okay?
They start by collecting David's basic information.
Okay. Blonde or brown hair? Both. Okay. Okay. Hazel eyes, maybe?
Take Hazel.
Blue? Hazel? Okay.
They're dirty, but yeah.
Okay.
Boy,
Is there a home phone?
There is.
Okay.
I can't remember the last four digits. It's 407. The
You
next
don't-
year is
let me not. I was gonna say, you don't know your house phone number, but I didn't know my house phone number when I had one, you know. So I'm gonna let this one slide.
So,
But you grown.
I never call it.
The next three are 704.
It's 407 704, and then I think it's 2808. It might be 2406, but I have it in my phone. I haven't. We've had it since we were at Briarcliff
And when did you move to Florida?
in 2013.
Okay.
About 5 months after I met Shanti.
Did you meet her here or there?
You have a house phone after 2013?
And then online. Okay. Can you tell me what year that was?
It was 2013.
2013 is when you met online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
And about
okay.
5 months later, did you move here and move in with her, or just move here?
I'm trying to be as accurate as possible. I believe it was the end of September.
So you guys
So you
moved
don't
to
know?
approximately 5 years this month.
He's about to throw me off. He already threw me off.
Never been more love. We're so happy.
If you don't, I know you've probably never been through anything like this in your life, okay? And I'm gonna help you get through it. If you have questions, you wanna stop me, please do so, okay? But I do need you to understand your rights before we ask you about anything that happened in that home today, okay? All right. You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand that? I'm sorry?
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. Anything you say may be used against you in court. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
Absolutely? Okay. So I need you to we're going to continue down this path about how you all met. I know you met on Match.com, and about 5 months of, what would it be, telephone, text, and...
We just started every other weekend.
They hit it off, moved in together, then went looking for a house to buy in Florida.
We had an offer and a short
That was
sale, and,
fast. 5 months.
Waited and waited and waited, and it fell through. And then we closed on the house on Copeland in April of 2015.
So, but you guys own the house free and clear.
So you had a house phone in 2015? Is that not crazy?
When we bought
House
the house,
phone?
we weren't
Okay.
married. And so we put it in a trust. And
Oh.
we just completed the trust paperwork.
He put the house in his and his mother's names while leaving his wife out of it for, quote, planning and financial reasons. He asserts the decision was mutual, but whether Shanti actually knew about this or not is unclear.
And you've been, so once you moved to Florida, you've been living together the whole time, just home to home? Just with first with the folks, then Briar Cliff, and then this residence? But you've been together the whole time? Have you ever broken up?
We had a couple fights from
That's not what she asked, but okay.
Briar Cliff.
Okay.
We spent a few nights with her.
Did y'all
He says
break
that
up?
He just spent a few nights with his mom, then drifts off into a statement about how Shanti was dedicated to work. The detective will now cut him off and steer the line of questioning back to the argument.
But she's
So, when you guys would argue when you would go to your mom's, it was just because she was busy all the time, or what would the beef be?
The work had a lot of stress involved, and she would sometimes. We always agreed, later that she was just overworked and tired, and
So she'd get a little snippy or short or yell, scream, what?
just irritable.
Irritable.
Just irritability. And sometimes it just that's not really, I don't really do that. It's not really, that's just stand there. So I just, I would just say, I want to take a break, or just let it, a little cool down period. And every time we did it, we came back. I think we only did it twice, but we were stronger.
Okay. And has that happened since you moved where you are now? Because now we've got the added stress of the renovation.
No, we love it. We love the.
This is Keith Ory, the producer of the house flipping show that David wanted to be on.
When you would be interacting with the Torontos related to your work on the house and also the show, who was your primary point of contact?
Oh, Dave was. He would communicate her desires. I would see her, but it was more like Dave's full-time job, almost, I guess I would say.
Did you ever know during your time that you knew Dave to have any other job?
I was aware that he had explained to me that he'd worked for a chemical company up north somewhere.
I actually never knew what Dave did for a living. When
Bum,
my
broke,
husband had asked him, he said
hobosexual.
he was into sales, but I don't really know what that means.
Like,
David never worked in sales or at a chemical company. You're now about to see Keith.
so he's just a broke bum who found this lady, bought a house with her, put it in him and his mother's name, and flipped houses for a living. Where's your source of income? I don't get it.
Keith explained that he insisted on having a formal sit-down with Shanti to make sure that she was fully on board.
It was difficult to get them both together, but I explained ultimately that we couldn't go forward if I wasn't able to sit down with them both.
Ultimately, you're able to get this sit-down scheduled. Tell the jury about that meeting.
I arrived at the house to meet Dave and Shanti, and she was, by my estimation, unhappy to be there, and it was in a sort of a tense state. It was obvious that she was unhappy with something, and she was only there as long as she absolutely had to be, and then left.
This all occurred 6 days before Shanti was murdered.
We love what we're doing to the house. We love the vision that we had for the house.
No, you did. You loved it. Oh my God.
Was what she wanted so bad. It made me happy. It made her happy. It was a thing that we did together. She wanted to quit her job.
Did she?
When we got the house done, or just kind of, slowly phase out of it. She thought, a couple of times that she would really need to take a break, and definitely slow down, and definitely not add a whole lot more work. But she could do more if she did too. I'm sorry, I can't talk about it.
That's fine.
First of all, you don't even know if she's dead. I mean, like, he's not supposed to know that she's dead, but obviously he does know, and he's talking about her in the past tense. If you know true crime, you know that people do that once they know, like, whoever passed away is actually dead. Like, they start talking about them in the past tense. Plus, this crying is getting out of hand, because you sound stupid. Like, get out of my face.
And that's very normal. That's very normal.
Ew.
Because you're not going to process this for a really long time. So I know it feels like a really bad thing.
Now notice how quickly he manages to pull himself out of the depths of despair and into casually talking about his house flipping show.
Keith also just, our lives are busy. I'm so sorry. I know you're asking simple questions, but Keith does a TV show, a home improvement.
Keith, the guy you
Ori.
mentioned, Ori?
It's
Okay.
called Zombie House Flipping,
Keith asked them to be on the show.
which meant that we would get a lot of what they call trade outs and promotional sponsorship to do
Any financial incentive to do that?
big. Yeah, that's what they call trade out. I'm sorry, that's what they call trade outs. So they are sponsors. And it's one of the things I was working on yesterday. Was
So you did it for money?
Sponsorships, so windows, doors, cabinets. I mean, and so maybe instead of getting granted, you get.
So
towards,
because-
you get
okay.
getting-
So what I'm getting, I'm gonna keep, like, you killed her because she didn't want to go through the renovation. No, you killed her because she didn't want to do the house flipping, but you were really mad because you were about to lose out on a whole bunch of money because of the sponsorships involved with the house flipping. Is that what I'm picking up? Like, was it really? Oh, because you don't have a job. Okay.
you
Okay.
know, middle range cabinets, you get high-end stuff. And
Broke.
we're also working on kind of just an amazing open concept stairway in the middle of the house that's going to go all the way up to the pond.
And so they'd come in and start filming? Would they film you all or just the work?
No. Yeah, it's just the house. They're the stars.
Pay no attention to David's no. He fully understood that he would be featured prominently on the show as the main builder construction guy. The so-called stars he's talking about are the hosts. The detective will now establish a timeline.
So when she comes home Sunday, it's you, Jackson, and Shanti. And
He knows
just
so
stay
much about the
home.
flipping of the house, but he don't know much about how they met or when they got it. Like,
Sunday.
it's a whole bunch of ums when it comes to that,
Would
but
you like to have an early meal and watch a movie?
So
I really hate
you
people.
call Sunday night about what time everybody goes to sleep since you're all
We
the
go to
same?
bed early on school nights, so 8:30 we're winding down. 9 o'clock lights are low.
Shanti's son gets picked up the next day at around 5 p.m.
5 p.m.-ish, okay. All right, and then do you guys go anywhere, do anything, or you stay at home?
We made dinner together that night. And,
You think?
So that would have been Monday night. Did you watch TV?
okay,
Any idea what?
American Idol.
Okay, so you wake up Tuesday morning and you're in the garage on the couch?
I usually wait for her to come down. She came down.
The
after
garage on the couch.
Almost 7:30.
Shanti went back upstairs and David started doing chores around the house. He's now about to mention the last time he supposedly saw Shanti alive, and then break into another fake hysteric. Yet this time, he will get no reassuring feedback from the detective, and the charade will rapidly dissipate.
Just, I should find out again.
She came down again, and what happened?
And
You're not even touching them crackers, huh?
exactly what time it is, but I don't know exactly. I would say probably 9:15. And the reason I know that is she said.
She said she was going to the dentist, and he said he was going for a walk. He now attempts another fake cry, but gets ignored again.
Grown ass
Did you
man.
take the dogs for a walk?
I went for a walk
By yourself?
by myself.
And where'd you go?
I went to Lake Lucerne.
He comes back home and feeds the dogs.
That's all that I can remember until I went upstairs to see my roommate.
Okay, and what happens when you enter the home? Is anything unusual? When you enter the garage apartment?
So, I could hear the water is running, but it's not running. It's not like a sound of a shower running. It's just, it's trickling out of the spout.
Okay, and so you walk toward the water
Huh?
that you're hearing?
Yeah, walking the bathroom.
Okay.
Just in case you didn't catch the passive-aggressive nature of that response,
Yeah, walking in the bathroom.
here it is again without subtitles.
So you walk toward the water that you're hearing?
Yeah, walking the
Just look at David's face. Poor David really doesn't want to be getting grilled like this anymore. Keep in mind it's almost 11 p.m. He likely didn't get a whole lot of sleep the night before, and he's been acting his ass off all throughout the day. He'll at this point be exhausted, and want nothing more than to get out of that police station. But he doesn't want to challenge the detective directly, and risk losing her approval. Hence he throws out a weak little display of passive aggression to see if she'll pick up on the hint, but it of course gets ignored. She will simply continue pressing with an unsympathetic tone, which will cause David to revert back to appeasement. He will then begin recounting the horrific circumstances under which he supposedly found Shanti, and as this unfolds, you will see a glaring disparity in David's emotional presentation.
The door's open, and what happens? What do you see?
I see her laying with her head in the right hand corner. And it's just extremely awful, and it doesn't look natural. Obviously, she fell or something happened.
But you did shut off the water.
I did shut off the water and it drained, which tells me.
Why did his voice
I could hear it
change?
draining when I pulled her out. I could hear. So that okay. So I guess this is all weird, right? Because she's in there, the water's on, and it's draining. It doesn't make any. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's not
Yeah, it doesn't
at
make
all
any
like
sense.
that.
You making it up.
It's like lukewarm, so just past half.
And she's face down. So the first thing you do is what, if you recall?
I reached out and grabbed her. I reached out and touched her right arm. The water is rose colored, so there's blood in the water itself. I can see a spot of blood.
And you pull her by her arms?
So I grabbed someplace on her arm, tried to get kind of under it a little bit.
You said she seemed stiff?
Hard to move.
Yeah, eat them crackers.
There's something so incredibly unnerving in the sound of the casual crunching of his snack as he recounts in precise detail the limp and lifeless body of his wife, so we'll spare you the rest of it.
Like, you went through the whole interview not even touching the saltine, the peanut butter cracker. All of a sudden you start talking about seeing her body and now you hungry? Something wrong with you. Like, on another level, like, what? Now you're hungry. Okay. You're famished.
Pull her and turn her a couple of times.
Right now. Like, what?
Then she felt cold. He asked how she felt. She felt cold.
She felt cold.
I grabbed the
Ew, what? Ugly ass.
we had
No, like, he keep making that face when he fake crying. Like, stop.
the mattress cover off to wash it.
The detective asks David to draw a map for the purpose of illustrating the timeline of his movements. She will now shift the line of questioning and begin to gradually intensify the pressure.
When was the last time the two of you argued?
Very briefly on Saturday, right before we left.
The argument was over the renovation. David likely admitted to this because Shanti's son was there for it.
The upstairs floor was very wavy, and the point of contention probably was, do we tear all of that out and put in new structure and trusses so we have a perfectly flat floor and then a perfectly flat ceiling?
No, because all you think about is, like, no. There's no
If Shanti and I
reason.
are both in this-
Okay. The way he's acting, like, when he's describing, like, stuff that has to do with the house versus stuff that has to do with, like, Shanti is very, like, you clearly care more about the house than you do Shanti because you're putting on a performance when it comes to her. But when it comes to the house, you're like, oh, should we just take everything out and redo the structure? Like, what? Like, oh my God, people make me so sick. Like, dude, what?
Same page, and we're both just in agreement and upset reasonably and justifiably upset that it's taking longer. Shanti and I aren't fighting about it. We're both upset about the same thing.
Are you?
Does
Someone
she
seems a
feel
little bit
that you
more
don't
upset.
Listen to her.
No, I don't think so. She knows honestly.
Has any fight ever turned physical between the two of you?
No.
Okay. Has she ever hurt you, hit you, struck you, threw anything at you?
No.
No.
Did you have to think about that?
Harmed her physically? basically?
No.
David continues to pretend that he doesn't notice the accusatory nature of the questioning, so the detective will now intensify the pressure to a significant degree.
She sheds. She seems to shed.
Her injuries to me, David, seem really significant.
Like she didn't slip and fall.
More significant than from a soft tissue fall. More significant than from me tripping and falling and hitting my head and being knocked unconscious.
She elaborates on the inconsistencies while David just sits there and nods.
The issue I'm having with it is I absolutely think that she was deceased before you left to go to the park.
She repeats what she said a few more times, while David just keeps doing what he's doing.
Okay, so I think that
He know he
given us
caught.
a significant amount of information. You've been very cooperative, but I also think that you've left some stuff out. And I think you've left some stuff out that is maybe something got out of hand. Maybe you didn't mean for it to happen. Maybe you got upset.
They be trying to give them so many
But there's
outs.
something that happened between the two of you before you left that house. Because she was deceased, or on her way to being deceased, before you left that house. Now, if there's an explanation, I want to hear it.
I told you everything.
But you've left out something, David, because this woman has significant injuries. Okay, this is not.
This
her
nodding
fault.
is like he's trying to
Did you
soothe himself and
harm
stuff. Like,
Shanti
dude,
in any way?
Absolutely not.
Did you choke her?
Absolutely
Did you
not.
strangle her?
Without question, no.
Did you beat her?
No.
Did you hit her with anything?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Do you have injuries?
I do not. I do have some scratches from the bromeliads.
oh, so you do have
Yeah,
injured.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I do trim them. I saw.
Aside from the scratches from his plants, David had no injuries that could indicate a struggle. But this might explain why.
You noticed a single earring on the nightstand?
A single what?
Single diamond earring on the nightstand.
Yes.
Yeah, what was the significance of that?
Looks like she removed it before bed and didn't get a chance to remove the other one.
Because you believe that's when the attack occurred.
On the edge of the bed, where the blood was found on the side rail. Yes. And I think when she turned to take that earring out, she didn't see it coming. Would you mind, just for me to be able to say David is a perfect gentleman and is in the clear and did not harm his wife, would you mind taking the polygraph and proving that to us?
Absolutely.
Okay. Would that be a possibility? Yeah. Okay. All right.
The detective asks David if he wants another water, to which he says, sure. So she brings him a water and tells him they'll be right back with a polygraph machine. But instead of coming right back, they leave him in there for just over 2 hours, during
no,
which
that's
time
right.
they decide not to proceed with the polygraph, but simply ramp up the confrontation.
Yeah, I would have took a nap too. I'm sorry. Well, no, I wouldn't have. My bad.
Hi.
Hey.
You okay?
Face up.
Yeah, it's just.
Did you sleep a little?
I did.
I think you've got to be exhausted. Or at least mentally. Yeah.
I just want to point out some things to you. That
5
I
hours
think are
going on
unusual.
6.
There's
I would
so
have.
many, I really don't know where to begin, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that I find that the living arrangement, I find to be completely unusual for you to be primarily living downstairs.
I'm not primarily living downstairs.
You was sleeping in the garage.
What I said is that I sleep down there, but I don't go down there till we're done with dinner. We're done watching TV, or we're done for the evening.
Like, are y'all
Just hear-
business
just hear me
partners
out.
or are y'all
So-
together?
You don't go upstairs during the day while she's working, you leave her alone, and then,
Not entirely. I do go up there.
Okay.
But I don't work up there while she's on the phone because it's distracting. It's her office. I think that I've explained extremely well. She didn't sleep. She did, but you said.
He continues defending the fact that he was exiled to the garage.
I think it's an adjustment and a transition that she didn't feel like she could make right now because she couldn't afford the time that it would take.
If she's sleeping in the only part of the residence that's semi-comfortable,
And
you're
you in the
sleeping
garage.
with the dogs.
The
How do you
silence.
explain
Sorry.
this woman's
Yo.
head in the garage with the dogs?
He like, he want to crash out on her too. Like, why is he staring at her like that?
How do you explain
Hold on. Okay.
this woman's head being swollen, her eyes being black? What?
And would never, ever hurt her.
So when you pulled her out of the tub, you agreed with me that the water came out of the tub. There's not a spot of water on the floor, David. The carpet isn't wet. The carpet isn't wet from where she was pulled out of the bathtub, sopping wet, all the way around to the front of the couch. The carpet's not wet. There's no blood on the carpet.
Look at his face.
Notice how little David moves compared to the detective. It doesn't correlate with anything in particular. It's just sort of interesting to watch.
My guess is she wasn't treating me very well. And there's only so much anyone can take before they snap.
Real quiet.
Appreciate the very kind things that you said.
Like what?
I'm missing what you're saying because of your suit that you're moving, but I'm kind of missing it.
Hmm?
It's really loud, but I missed what you said because you're talking so loud.
I'm sorry, it's falling out. I appreciate the things that you've said and the genuine consideration and thoughtfulness
You just talking.
behind it.
David, you killed this woman.
I cooperated so I could give you all the information and all.
You cooperated because you thought
all
that
the
your
backstory.
language would overwhelm
No,
us,
not
and you
at
thought
all.
you could pull
No.
wool over our
I
eyes.
didn't think there was any effort to do that.
All of this.
They telling you you killed her. You not like, no, I didn't. Like, that's not your first.
Fancy language,
Answers to
all the
questions that you
details.
asked. To questions that you asked.
You know, you
I don't like
fake
his
cried
voice.
for about 7 or 8 hours today. Not one tear came out of your eyes.
Like-
Not one. Not one. Not on scene with the officers. Not in this room. You have fake.
Like, boy,
cried
you
over
making
this
ugly
woman's death
faces, looking like
since
the
we
screen
had her
painting. Like,
for hours. And every single time you fake cried, you wrote it down. Not one tear came out of your eyes. Not one. Nope. Okay.
the
I've
note
been
is.
extremely patient with you for a very long time. I am losing my patience at this point because
Like
there's
8
not a
hours?
lick of remorse for what you did to this woman. Not even a little bit. You're staring at a woman you're telling us you're in love with, and you've done nothing the whole time. But close your eyes, huddle up, and protect your own ass.
Get on, girl.
So we're just gonna prove you're full of shit and solve this case. And I'm glad you think that's funny. I'm glad you think that's funny.
The investigators would exit the room shortly after this moment, at 4:56 a.m. David would then sit there for a little over 2 hours before finally asking to go home. But before being driven back by one of the officers, they asked him if they could take his photograph. He cheerfully obliged. Judging by his
Ew.
expression, he may have thought he had just gotten away with murder, but a grand jury indicted him 4 months later, and he was arrested at his mother's house. When he was told he was facing life imprisonment and that the evidence against him was overwhelming, he started acting crazy and went for the insanity defense. He was then sent to a maximum security psych unit, where he spent 5 years before a judge ruled him competent to stand trial. This is what
Oh
he
my
looked like
God.
on the day he was transferred back to jail.
Jump scare.
His trial began on October 12th and lasted 6 days. He maintained his plea of not guilty, with his official defense being that he was out of the house walking the dogs while an unknown intruder broke in and murdered Shanti.
Yeah,
You
sure.
heard about the sleeping arrangement. You heard how the defendant was sleeping in the garage with the dogs while Shanti was staying in the essential, one-bedroom apartment, separate and apart from him. And this had been going on,
His face
for
just stuck.
over a year.
Ugh.
This was an intentional killing. A random stranger that comes into a house isn't going to, take the time that it takes to strangle a person, to move them to a tub. Not take anything? Doesn't make any sense. Leave no sign behind, no fingerprints, no DNA?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. You have the severe beating of Shanti. You
his
have the injuries
face.
to both sides of her face. You have the fractured skull, the swollen shut eye, the damaged eye on the other side. You saw the, intense bruising and bleeding in both sides of her mouth. This was a beating. So at some point in that beating, the defendant, and you can infer this from the facts, intended to cause the death.
Yuck.
And he did it with a premeditated design. We ask that you convict him of first-degree murder. Thank you.
The defense mainly tries to evoke
Dang, he's
empathy
small.
for the defendant, but it ends up just roasting the fake crazy out of him.
Shanti's the only source of the income. She's the breadwinner. He does nothing other than take care of the pool and the dogs. It's about circumstantial evidence,
Bum.
pure supposition, all steered by Teresa Sprague, who prejudged this case based upon a phone call received from her from an officer at the scene about these crocodile tears. This is just a hunch, ladies and gentlemen. A hunch. If you hear horses, if you hear hooves, think horses, not zebras, sort of thing. Because that's the point. You don't get to fit a
Why people be having any type of saying like, I've never heard that in my life.
square peg in a round hole because it's convenient.
I heard that one.
And that's what happened here.
The face.
Fit a square peg in a round zebras, sort of thing. Because that's the point. You don't get to fit a square peg in a round hole because it's convenient. And that's what happened here.
It's
With
convenient.
the rush to judgment, with the confirmational bias, those two detectives went into a room with David Tronis and worked him over. He sat there for 16 hours, bared his soul to them, literally and figuratively, told them what
Literally?
he knew, told them what he saw. The government's the one spinning here. The government's the one taking the insignificant and stacking them into a pyramid. And I'm confident that after carefully deliberating,
Is this a public defender? Because you are not doing a good job. They picked you up. They picked him up off the street, put him in a suit, a bow tie, and called it a day. Like, there's no way you are qualified. Because what are you saying right now? Like, there's what?
that you'll come back and return the only just verdict in this case, and that's a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
Verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty
I know,
of
that's
first-degree
right.
murder as charged in the indictment. So it says we all, dated at Orlando County, Orange County, Florida, on the 18th day of October 2023, signed by the foreperson.
In the midst of this tragedy, Shanti's
so
impact
sad.
as a mother was shown through her son Jackson. His victim impact statement was both heartrending and dignified.
My family and I have been waiting for about 5 years for justice. I miss her so much. I would have never thought the day before was the last time I would see my mother alive.
Nah,
I miss
man.
the times where we would go to Universal, or just the simple times, like walking the dogs or going to the park.
That's
She
so
was the
sad.
best mom I could ever ask for. That's it.
Honestly, I don't blame
Any
him.
questions?
No, Your Honor.
Jackson?
Short, because, like,
Mr.
after that
Thomas,
loss,
anything
what
wish
can
to
you
say
really
prior to
say for
sentencing?
real? You whispering again.
I think you just said no, is that right? Then in this case, the court will adjudicate you guilty, will sentence you to life imprisonment. Up to you, sir. And the court will be in recess.
It's what you deserve.
This is his latest mugshot. He is currently being housed at the Graceville Correctional Facility in
bald,
maximum
too?
security, where he is expected to remain.
It's all bad. It's all bad. Oh my God, like, some people just, I really don't even have much to say for real. Like, that's crazy. But yeah, don't even have nothing to close out the video with. Like, that's just sad. But thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for a new video coming soon. I was on a little hiatus, but you know, I'm feeling a little content ready, you know, trying to step back into my on camera era. And actually, I just started trying to stream, but you know, we gonna work our way up there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. I'll see you guys then. Bye.